is a crushed stalk between clenched fingers. Hope is a bird's wing broken by a stone. Hope is a word in a tuneless ditty, a word whispered with the wind, a dream of 40 acres and a mule, a cabin of one's own and a moment to rest, a name and a place for one's children and children's children at last. Hope is a song in a weary throat. May the words of my heart find their reflection in the heart of the universe. Well, as Carol said, today we celebrate International Women's Day. A celebration as well as a time to reflect on the things we still need to do. A time to mourn the suffering current and past. A time to acknowledge the struggle. And a time to plan for a future where women's achievements, women's contributions are valued as human contributions, and where women are free to be fully human. Well, the opening words are from Pauline Murray, poet, activist, lawyer, priest, artist, woman, person. Born in 1910, Murray is part of the legacy of women in this country that have inspired, uplifted, and gifted us with hope. With the ability to, in the words of Lorraine Hansberry, see the future stretched out in front of us. A future that hangs at the edge of our days. A future that is indeed waiting for us. This legacy includes all women and certainly the many men who supported and encouraged them. But I'd like to focus on the achievements, the inspiration of Black women in America. The history of Black women is, if thought of at all, limited to a few people seen as heroines. Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, others. It's often seen as a reaction to the suffering, to the oppression, to the injustice. And this, to me, is to minimize the importance of the power, the hope, the inner strength and vision of these many women. Darlene Clark-Hine and Kathleen Thompson, historians who have specialized in the history of African American women, write, "The extraordinary achievements of Black women in the 19th and 20th centuries did not grow out of degradation, but out of a legacy of courage, resourcefulness, initiative, and dignity that goes back to 1619. These words come from their book, A Shining Thread of Hope. This book has had a profound impact on my life, and I'm certain upon the lives of many others. I first read it when I was enrolled in a class at San Francisco State in Black history. It stood out, first of all, because of its impeccable scholarship. but also the use of story, intimate stories of African American women throughout history. And these stories are told in context, unlike the way history is often told. The context in which these women lived. Starting in the year 1619, the year that is widely acknowledged as the year the first Africans arrived on this continent, the authors use well-documented examples of women of profound courage, resourcefulness, initiative, and dignity. These women are a beacon of hope, a shining thread of hope. The book begins with an historical yet fictional account of a young woman, Oni, taken from her native West African village. One of 20 slaves who were the first to be brought to North America in the year 1619. The ship carrying Oni and the others ran into bad weather, supplies ran out, disease and starvation ran rampant. Of the 100 Africans on the ship, 80 starved to death. Their bodies were thrown overboard. This is the reality of what are believed to be the first Africans in North America, although it's also widely acknowledged that there may have been others coming on their own as African explorers. Oni's life, like so many others, was presumably one of separation and loss, and often desperate humiliation. But she became part of the force that created a new culture in this land, weaving fragments of her African past with the rags and threads from the new alien world. Hine and Thompson write that these women would dress themselves in dignity, love, and even joy. An example of this dignity, this love, comes in the story of Lucy Terry Prince of Deerfield, Massachusetts. Bought off a slave ship at the age of 5, Lucy became a respected part of her community. She was baptized in the First Church of Deerfield on June 15, 1735. So much is known about her because she was an honored citizen of the town. At 16, she wrote a poem about an Indian attack on the town. This poem was handed down from generation to generation and published in 1855 in History of Western Massachusetts. In part, it reads, August, 'twas the 25th, 1746. The Indians did in ambush lay some very valiant men to slay. Samuel Allen like a hero fought, and though he was so brave and bold, his face no more shall we behold. Eunice Allen, see the Indians coming, and hopes to save herself by running, and had not her petticoats stopped her, the awful creatures had not catched her, nor Tommy hawked her on the head. Young Samuel Allen, oh lack a day, was taken and carried to Canada. The authors point out that this poem does not reveal a sense of racial inferiority or self-consciousness on the part of Lucy Terry. The people she writes about are apparently her friends and neighbors. Well, Lucy Terry later married a man named Abijah Prince. They had 7 children and lived on a farm in Vermont. At one point, Lucy applied for admission to Williams College for her son. He was rejected on account of his race, and Lucy was indignant. She reportedly pleaded her case before the trustees for 3 hours, quoting an abundance of law as well as scripture in support of her claim, but to no avail. She later was able to win a case before the Supreme Court, reclaiming a tract of land belonging to her family. Lucy was no wallflower. The authors state that they went into so much detail about this woman because it is in the details that we understand the true courage, resourcefulness, initiative, and dignity of a person. Lucy Terry's life story illustrates the profound diversity of African women in America. Another story that is perhaps more widely known is of another poet, Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis was also acquired as a slave, but her family soon found that she had her own aspirations, and she became what the authors call a fiery American patriot, unlike her owners, who were conservative loyalists. Her first published poem appeared in 1767. She was 14 years old. Should you, my Lord, while you peruse my song, wonder from whence my love of freedom sprung, whence flow these wishes for the common good, by feeling hearts alone best understood. I, young in life, by seeing cruel fate, was snatched from Africa's fancied happy seat. What pangs excruciating must molest, what sorrows labor in my parents' breast. Steeled was that soul, and by no misery moved, that from a father seized his babe beloved. Such my case. And can I then but pray others may never feel tyrannic's sway? Wheatley's poem strikes me as a precious thread in our shameful history, a history of separation and loss, annihilation and oppression, but also freedom and hope. A shining thread of liberation that represents the best of American people. Well, Phyllis Wheatley died during childbirth at the age of 31 after the loss of 2 previous children. She was part of what the authors call mainstream society, much like Lucy Terry Prince, and later one could argue Pauli Murray. The authors point out that so many others were busy creating a separate culture that has and continues continues to influence the development of this country in a profound way. But taken together, these experiences of Black women are, in the words of Margaret B. Wilkerson, they are a prism through which the searing rays of race, class, and sex are first focused, then refracted. The creative among us transform those rays into a spectrum of brilliant colors, a rainbow which illuminated the experience of all humankind. Wilkerson recognized the dignity, love, and joy in the stories of Black women throughout history. She saw that through their stories we are all able to see these rays of race, class, and sex converging. We are able to see the creation of this rainbow made up of all of us. From Phyllis Wheatley's influence in England and with her own president, to the influence of Pauli Murray on Eleanor Roosevelt. From the life of Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, as well as all those whose names we do not know, those who freed and inspired and nurtured so many. These stories tell of the belief that as we climb, we lift ourselves and others, for we are connected by our common history and our shared present, by our common heritage as children of God. Well, I'd like to end where I began this morning, with the words of Pauli Murray. She wrote, "Give me a song of hope and a world where I can sing it. Give me a song of faith and a people to believe in it. Give me a song of kindliness and a country where I can live it. Give me a song of hope and love and a brown